Hey y'all, you'll need 2 pieces of accent fabric, 7 inches by 10.5 inches, 1 piece of accent fabric that's 2 inches by 14 inches, 1 piece of main fabric at 8 by 10.5 inches, and another piece at 6 by 10.5 inches, 2 pieces of lining fabric, 7 inches by 10 inches, and 2 pieces of interfacing, 8 inches by 10 inches. You'll need a zipper that's about 10 to 12 inches, a 1/2 inch swivel hook, and a 1/2 inch D-ring. I made my own pattern piece by taking a regular piece of paper, drawing out the wave, and cutting it into 2 separate pieces. I'm going to be using the top piece for this clutch. Grab your 2 pieces of accent fabric and make sure you place them right sides together. It can be a little hard to tell with Ankara, but there is a slight difference if you look closely. Match up your pieces of fabric and then place your pattern on top. This is the part where you do as I say, not as I do, because my fabric was not cut to the measurements that I told you in the beginning. I decided to just go ahead and center the pattern instead of cutting it off because I can cut off the excess later, but do follow the measurements that I gave you in the beginning. Clip your pattern to the fabric to hold it in place. And then I'm using a piece of tailor's chalk to trace the curve side of my pattern. Once that's finished, remove your pattern and take it to the sewing machine to sew along that curve. Our wave is sewn together and I'm using my pattern to double check to make sure I have my fabric oriented in the correct position because we're going to cut off the excess fabric outside of our wave. Hold on to this piece of fabric you just cut. We're going to use it a little bit later to make our zipper tabs and also the anchor for our D-ring. Now I'm going to take my scissors and make little cuts all along the wave. This helps when you're working with curves and fabric for it to lay flat when you turn everything inside out or right side out. Now we're ready to turn the piece right side out. Once you've got it situated, take it to the iron it flat. At this point, go ahead and cut off that excess piece on the edge as well. Now grab the smaller piece of outer fabric, the one that's cut to 6 inches, and we're going to place our wave on top of that piece. You want to position it so that in total, once you sew it together, the piece will be 8 inches in height. Pin both pieces of fabric together, then we're going to take it to our sewing machine and top stitch along the curve. After top stitching, you're going to trim the excess fabric from your main fabric. At this time, we can add our interfacing to the panel. Again, please excuse my measurements. I'm just going to go ahead right now and trim off a little bit of the excess, but yours will be on point. And then you can go ahead and add the interfacing to the other piece of your main fabric as well. Make sure you match the glue side to the wrong side of the fabric and iron it together. Now I'm going back to this scrap fabric from our curve piece earlier, and I'm going to use this to cut the connector piece for our D-ring and also the zipper tabs. So the piece I measured on camera is 2.5 inches. I discovered off camera that that was too wide. So basically, whatever size your D-ring is, in my case it's a 1/2 inch D-ring, you want to multiply that times 4 to get the width you need for the connector piece of fabric. So for this project, you'll need a width of 2 inches and the length can be variable at this point. We're going to trim it down later. Set that connector piece aside for just a moment, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut my zipper tabs. For these, you want them to be about 2 inches by 1 inch. I'm only cutting 2 pieces on camera, but you will need 4 zipper tabs altogether. Prepare the connector piece by folding it in half lengthwise. Finger press to get that middle crease, and then open it up and fold the sides into the middle crease. Fold it in half again. Then you'll sew along the edge to close the opening. Now to prepare the zipper, again, you will need 4 zipper tabs total. So you're going to take a zipper tab and place it on the underside of the zipper and also place one on the top side of the zipper. Make sure the one on the top side of the zipper is the right side of the fabric facing the zipper. Go ahead and clip that in place and repeat on the other side. Sew the zipper tabs in place as close to the zipper end as possible without going over it, especially if you're using a metal teeth zipper like I am. You don't want to break your needle. Our zipper tabs are now sewn into place. Take each side, fold the fabric back onto each other, and clip that in place, and then we'll set it aside for a minute. The connector piece is also sewn together. I'm not even going to need this full length, but first I'm going to slide on the D-ring and then gauge how much I'll need. So we only really need enough to put on the edge of our pouch. So you'll see me cut off some of the length here, and we'll clip the end of that in place and set it aside. Now we're going to prep our strap. The beginning of the prep is the same as the connector piece from the D-ring, but the sewing is going to be a little different. So for now, fold it in half, get your middle crease, fold each end into the middle crease, fold it in half, and then iron that down. For the sewing part, you're going to sew the middle portion along the edge to close it. You want to leave about 2 inches on either side open, so only sew the middle section. Once the middle part is sewn, slide your swivel hook onto the strap. Then you're going to unfold the open part of the strap on both sides, match the right sides together, creases together. Pin it in place if you need to, and sew a straight line across. Next, open up the seam and finger press it flat. Then you're going to fold the strap back together, matching up with the same creases that you had before. Clip it in place, and this time you'll finish sewing the open seam closed. Find the middle seam where you sewed the open ends together and move your swivel hook close to that seam. Clip the fabric together and sew a straight line right below the swivel hook to hold it in place. The strap is complete and you can set it aside for later. Getting back to our front panel, we're going to attach our D-ring connector. So you want to position it so that the D-ring is facing the inside of your panel and the opening of the strap is facing the outside. And then you'll sew a straight line to put that in place. Now it's time to add the zipper. Make sure the right side of the zipper is facing the right side of your fabric. Pin that in place to hold it, and then we're also going to add the lining piece on top. So sandwich that all together, and then you'll sew a straight line to lock the zipper into place. One side of the zipper is sewn in, and we have to repeat the process for the other side. So flip over your fabric so your lining and outer piece are together. Then you're going to grab your back panel piece and again match the right side of the zipper to the right side of the fabric. Add on your lining, sandwich it all together, sew a straight line across. After your zipper is sewn in place, you're going to open up your panel. At this point, you can iron it down if you want to make it a little easier. You're going to go ahead and top stitch along each side of the zipper. Our top stitching looks good, and now it's time to give our clutch some shape. Make sure that your zipper is fully open. Gather the fabric so both pieces of lining are on one side and both pieces of main fabric are on the other side. Match the edges of each piece in place and clip or pin them together. And this is the time to trim off any excess fabric if necessary. Sew around the perimeter, leaving an opening in the lining so you can turn your bag. Our perimeter is now sewn together, and it's time to add the corners. Here you can adjust the measurement of the corners to your liking. I'm going to be using 1-inch squares, but if you want your bag to have a smaller depth, you can use 3/4 inch or 1/2 inch. Totally up to you. Mark your squares on all 4 sides and then cut them out. Once your squares are cut, open the fabric in each corner and match it up seam to seam. Clip this in place and then you'll sew a straight line across each corner. Now it's time to turn our bag right side out and see how we did. Be sure to push all the corners out as you're doing so. Our last bit of sewing is going to be to close up the lining. So pull that back out of your bag, match up the seam allowances, make sure they're tucked in and lining up well. You can pin those closed and then sew a line straight across as close to the edge as you can get. The lining is now closed. You can tuck that back in and now our bag is complete. Don't forget about the strap we made earlier. You can attach that and carry this as a wristlet, or you can leave it off and carry it as a clutch. Either way, it's a beautiful bag. I love the wave detail. I might be keeping this one for myself. Thank you for watching this far. Please like and share the video and subscribe to the channel if you would like more creative content. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.